Hey, folks, thank you for letting me speak. Holly Segala, 2435 Lake Ridge Drive. I signed up under the guise of one topic, but I really want to hit another. But I will just say on the noise ordinance, has anyone ever been woken up by a dumpster early in the morning? 6 a.m. is really, really early to be shaken up by a dumpster being dumped. So maybe you could consider moving that to 6:30 or 7 a.m. At the January meeting, there was a fellow who spoke on flooding in his yard. I had said at that meeting that I wanted to speak to him, but he took off before the end of the 5-hour meeting and I didn't get a chance to talk to him. What I wanted to tell him is that the city can really only do so much. There are laws that determine how construction is being handled in the county. You've all seen the clear cutting, and you know it's wrong. Those developers are following the laws and regulations coming from our elected officials in the General Assembly and passed down to our county commissioners. Our representative, Charles Miller, wrote a bill in 2024, Bill 911, and boy, was it an emergency, that bill was passed in less than 2 weeks. I have never seen a government work so quickly to have something passed in 2 weeks. But that bill really hurt Southport, not just Southport, but communities across this whole state. But we'll just worry about Southport and Brunswick County. So Representative Miller, in conjunction with Smithville Woods resident and County Commissioner Pat Sykes, came up with that bill to remove the ETJ extraterritorial jurisdiction from which removed the city's control over those surrounding areas, not to mention the great loss of revenue that now falls on the residents. We got another whack from Mr. Miller recently when he allowed a friend's business's property to be removed from the ETJ. Again, a loss of revenue and control. The business still gets to reap the benefit of being in Southport, but Lord knows what ends up getting built in those spots. I've talked to a lot of people who say they hope, they wish, they pray that our elected officials change and stop the destruction of our wetlands and woodlands. I'm sorry to say that they are not going to change, that it's up to us to put new people in those positions. We have to institute our own term limits. Now, I'm not saying that funds obtained for city projects aren't appreciated. After all, that is their job. But let me remind you that that isn't their personal money. They didn't give us that money out of their pockets. It's our money given back to us. I'm asking the board to work on Mr. Miller. Maybe he can get the law reinstated where developers pay impact fees to the communities that they are developing. That would be very helpful to the city, and I'm sure the developers would still make plenty of profit. And I wish Mr. Spencer was here because being a local, he knows exactly what I'm talking about. I just want to reiterate, our flooding problems are a direct result of clear cutting and the filling in of wetlands. It doesn't have to be like this. I thank you and power to the people.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Bonnie Bray.
Bonnie Bray, 515 Quartermaster Drive in Southport. I don't have anything written tonight. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what happened yesterday with the city's press release about Parks and Rec employees being suspended. I've been talking with people today. I've been reading things. I can tell you that in the absence of no information. There is a lot of information going around. I understand you all were not informed about this. I understand that it's possible that this actually started developing back in September. And yet we find out yesterday that people's after-school kids are ripped away from their after-school care providers at the drop of a hat. I am so angry that I just can't even contemplate what steps preceded this event yesterday, what it's going to do to the reputations of the people who are suspended. They'll have a cloud over their heads forever, just like the tourism and when Randy and Kate were fired just before the 2023 election. Everybody, those people have picked up their pieces, their marbles, and they have moved on, and they're fine, which is good to know. Who knows what's going to happen to the poor people in Parks and Rec, the advisory board people who have been working. I mean, who's going to give this is a minor thing, but it's ridiculous that the Parks and Rec department report is on the agenda tonight. What Parks and Rec department is left when the two leaders of it, who have been trusted employees, are being treated like this? You have to know that you have to treat the citizens of Southport, who are paying everybody's salaries, including yours, what the real deal is. We are tired of being treated as if we're stupid. We ask questions. We know the people who work for the city. We know we're related to the people who work for the city. There are close ties. This is a very small town, and repeatedly, over and over and over again, the citizens are treated the same as the employees, I guess. I don't know what happened. We won't know probably for months. Meanwhile, we're stuck flapping our wings. What's going to happen? We have programs in place. Why was this not prepared for, planned for? Why do we have to? I read on Mark Spencer's Facebook page, thanks for all the volunteers who stepped up to watch the after school kids. What the heck is that? This is a job. This is not something that people do babysitting. It's not babysitting. We had a discussion, a couple of months ago about the necessity and the worth of those Parks and Rec programs. And now they're just poof, gone. I'm what? I can't cuss up here. I'm not gonna. I hope that you will handle this differently than it was handled in 2023. It was rough for the people who live here. Of course, it was obviously rough for the people directly involved, but we need to be part of the team. You need to keep us informed, and don't treat us as if we're stupid, please.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Ms. Vetter, you have on here the tobacco and vaping. I'm going to hold off until the public hearing for your comment. Is that okay? Okay. Then that is all.
Okay, great. Thank you. Everybody did quite well. Thank you. The next item is item E, the ethics statement. If any members know of any conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest concerning matters on the agenda, please so state at this time. Any conflicts, board? Okay, hearing none, thank you. Item F, approval of the agenda. Motion by Alderman Mosteller and a second by Alderman Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item G, approval of the consent agenda. Board and citizens, in the packet, there are minutes from June 12th, 2025, a regular meeting, June 23rd, 2025, July 7th, 2025, and also February 12th, 2026, Board of Aldermen regular meeting minutes. Also in your packet is a Garrison Lawn Veterans Memorial Wreath request. And this is the Veterans Memorial Reef is a nonprofit organization based in Carolina Beach. And they're just requesting to hold a formal ceremony honoring fallen U.S. Armed Veterans on May 16th, 2026 on the Garrison Lawn. Fort Johnston, yes.
Last year was the first year that they held it here. Traditionally, they did it in another area. The barge that used to bring the reef out and to the ocean to sink it was no longer available last year. So McPherson Marine stepped up here in Southport. So that actually brought that organization to Southport.
Okay, thank you. So per regulations, any use of the lawn that is not sponsored by the city must be approved by the Board of Aldermen. This is a unique aquatic memorial. The organization interns the cremated remains of veterans within specifically crafted concrete memorial markers, which are then placed on the sea floor to form artificial reefs. So anyway, we would, when we approve the consent agenda, this will be on there, and that's a very worthy cause and a wonderful event, special event. The next item on the consent agenda for our citizens and those here and board, a resolution in opposition to the expansion of Kimura's Fayetteville Works facility. As you might imagine, anything related to PFAS, we certainly oppose. We don't want more in the river or anything like that. So basically, the resolution says the Lower Cape Fear River depends upon the environmental integrity of the river and surrounding watershed for public health, drinking water, reliability, tourism, fisheries, and economic vitality. Kimura's company and its predecessor, DuPont, have a documented history of releasing PFAS into the Cape Fear River and surrounding environment. These releases have contaminated drinking water supplies for hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians. PFAS are persistent, bioaccumulative, and associated with adverse health effects. So the city of Southport formally opposes the expansion of this plant. The city urges the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to deny any permits or approvals related to such expansion. So this is the consent agenda, and I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
There was Alderman Gross and a second by Alderman Mosteller. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Item H is special recognition, Women's History Month proclamation. And if the female women aldermen would please come up and join me while I read this, please. Well, you know, I wanted to do this, but I wasn't sure. And the clerk said, you better invite them up here. So I said, absolutely. That's what I wanted to do. We could. But then they wouldn't be able to see you as well. Okay. The City of Southport proclamation, March, Women's History Month. Whereas March is recognized nationally as Women's History Month, a time to honor and celebrate the achievements and contributions of women throughout our nation's history. And whereas the City of Southport has been shaped and strengthened by generations of women whose leadership, courage, faith, and dedication have left a lasting mark on our community. Whereas the story of Southport is not only his story, but her story as well, written through generations of women whose courage and commitment have defined our community. And whereas Southport's history includes trailblazers such as Dot Gilbert, the first woman to serve as mayor of Southport and the first woman mayor in North Carolina, Eulene Stidham Lee, the first woman to pastor a church in Southport, Hazel Watts, who led senior care initiatives and later developed Ocean Trail, Patty Fry Treadway, the first female firefighter of Southport Fire Department, Gloria Stanley, the first female officer of the Southport Police Department, and Joy Gregory, a Southport native who became the first female deputy of the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, each breaking barriers in public service and community leadership. And whereas these women, along with countless others whose service may not always be formally recorded, have strengthened the civic, spiritual, economic, and public safety foundations of our city. And whereas Women's History Month provides an opportunity to reflect on the progress made and to inspire future generations of women and girls in Southport to lead, serve, and shape for the future of our community. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Joseph P. Hatem, Mayor of the City of Southport, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen, do hereby proclaim March 2026 as Women's History Month in the City of Southport and encourage all residents to recognize and celebrate the women who have shaped our history and continue to build our future. Next item on our agenda, I1, is the 2026 Brunswick County Schools Bond Referendum presentation. And I'll call on first Board of Education Chairman, Mr. Steve Gainey.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mayor and Alderman, for allowing us to come out tonight. I've had the privilege of leading off our bond presentation to several groups throughout the county over the last couple of months, but this is indeed a very special pleasure to me because I grew up in Southport, and I had a handful of friends whose parents served on the board, served as aldermen, as mayors. You were talking about the lawn over here. I remember when we used to play football out there on the lawn, and we didn't have to get a permit to do so. Your chief from your fire department, Mr. Drew, his grandfather was my Little League coach, and I grew up across the street from where did our chief of police go? Oh yeah, I grew up across the street from his grandfather and his mom. So my roots go very deep in Southport. So it's a real honor to be here and speak before this board. What I want to talk about real quickly, and I will bring Mr. Cole up behind me. He'll talk about the bond. I want to talk about what's happening in the school district and why we feel like, in addition to the need for these capital improvements, there are additional reasons that you should support the bond, and one of those is that the district is doing well. We hired Superintendent Cole almost 3 years ago. He's made some great improvements in what's going on along with his team. He has a large team, and he's made some great improvements in what we're doing in the county. And I'll share that with you real quickly, just so we could establish some credibility about, this district. We feel like your support. We think we've got things moving in a good direction. So what is it exactly that we're doing that we feel like you'll be pleased to know about? We're having some really great success with our CTE program. CTE is Career and Technical Education. When I ran for the school board 4 years ago, nothing got more interest among the people when I spoke to them than CTE. They felt like it was time to have a little bit more focus on that pathway for our students, and we've done a great job in growing our CTE pathways. I'll give you an example real quickly of what I mean by that. In 24-25, this 24-25 school year, we award job credentials based on the work that students do in these career and technical education classes. We awarded 491 job credentials. 24-25. In the fall of 25, just this past year, this past fall, we awarded 612 in one semester. The growth in our CTE program has been phenomenal. Our internships in the county are up 600% in the last 3 years. We've taken our internships, which are work-based learning opportunities, from 8 to 49 currently. And so anybody that's in here who owns a business, make sure you see Mr. Cole afterwards, because we'd love to get an internship in your business here if we can. But I also want to reassure you that we haven't forgotten about the academic pathways either. I mean, the academic pathways are still, very important to us, and we're certainly haven't lost any focus on that. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. Our AP classes, that's our top students, advanced placement courses. We have seen this is really is a tremendous testament to the fact that we still focus there and we still have our students engaged in that area. And in the 23 school year, we had 624 AP exams that were taken. Of those 624 exams, only 58% of those students earned college credit for those classes. They got credit for their high school credits, but they did not, 42% of them did not translate into college credits. 2 years later, we had 30% more courses taken. We had 800, not courses, exams taken. We had 831 exams taken in 2025 with a 71% pass rate for college credit. So we are advancing our CTE program for the kids who maybe don't see college immediately as in their future. We're advancing the pathways that they are going to pursue and the number of students that are taking advantage of those pathways, while we're also having growth in our academically aligned pathways. And the reason we're able to do this is because the students are more engaged. I mean, if you don't have more engagement with your students, you're not going to get these kind of results. We also know that our students are more engaged because they come to school more. That's a pretty good indication that they're engaged, right? We have lowered, Mr. Cole and his team, we have lowered the truancy rate. Unexcused illegal absences from school. We have lowered the truancy rate in Brunswick County by 50% in the last 3 years. That's a tremendous testimony to not just the fact that we are being very diligent and showing a lot of fidelity to what we should have been doing all along, and we're more engaged ourselves in enforcing our expectations about attendance, but it also means that the kids, they now see, to a much greater degree, reasons to come to school because they've got pathways that we've helped them identify that they can pursue, right when they graduate from school. So we feel like, that there's just a lot going on that's really good, and that because of the accomplishments that we're making in our core mission, we can expect, the support for this school bond. Not to mention the fact that we desperately need the capital projects that we're going to be addressing in the school bond. So what I will now do is I am going to turn over the presentation of the specifics of the school bond to our superintendent, Dale Cole, and Mr. Cole and everyone else, you'll have to excuse me. I have another engagement that I need to get to. So I'm gonna turn it over to Dale, and I'm gonna hit the road. But thank you very much for letting me come speak with you.
Thank you, Mr. Gainey. I want to share, this is special to me as well. A lot of people don't know this, but I was actually born here. And my dad in 1972 was a 21-year-old apprentice for Brown and Root Construction when they were building the power plant. And so he and my mom were living here in Southport when I was born. So I only lived here 2 years, and then we moved back home to Little Washington, and that's sort of where I was raised. But I always tell people that I'm a native of Brunswick County in Southport. I was born here. But anyway, thank you for having me. It is my goal tonight to go through this presentation as quickly as I can. Obviously, there's a lot of information, and it's my goal at the end that this council feels comfortable either tonight or at some point in the future floating a proposal to vote in favor of supporting this school bond referendum. I hope that that will be the case at some point, and at which time then a letter could be sent to us with Brunswick County Schools so that we could post that on our bond website. I want to share that all of the information I'm sharing with you tonight, including this PowerPoint presentation, are at our Brunswick County Schools webpage, so www.bcswan.net. You go to that site, there'll be a pop-up with a link to the bond website. You can click it, and everything is there for your reference. There's this PowerPoint presentation. There's a video introduction with more information. There's a page of community support. That's where we put all of our letters of support. Most recently, the council at Ocean Isle Beach, they voted in support of the school bond referendum to show their support. And so their letter has been uploaded. All three chambers of commerce and many other organizations have done that. So I hope that I can see the Southport Town Council's letter there very soon. We also use our demographic projections. We do an annual demographic report to project our student numbers out 10 years in the future. We just got our updated report, so the school board will receive that in 2 weeks at their next committee meeting. We have 3 years of those reports. All of those are on that website so that people can look at the same data that we're looking at. So I just encourage people to go there to that website. And I'm going to click through these first few slides just because Mr. Gainey has shared most of this. I will say also last year we had a 10-year high in graduation rate for Brunswick County Schools at 87.6%. We did cut our chronic absenteeism in half as a district from 12.2% to 6.6% of students being chronically absent. And chronically absent means that they missed more than 10 days of instruction. Here we go. This is the AP growth that Mr. Gainey was referring to. You can go to the website and see this. Another factor in green is Brunswick County Schools data. The red is the state of North Carolina data on the ACT college entrance exam. Every junior in North Carolina has to take this exam every year just to measure college readiness. As you can see, Brunswick County, as well as the state of North Carolina, had seen a downturn over the last few years, but the concerning thing was that a gap was growing between Brunswick County and the state average. But last year we closed that gap dramatically, so we were very proud of that. Talked about career and technical education. That's a bar for each high school. So if you're interested in specifically how South Brunswick High School is doing and has been doing over the last few years, you can check that out. This is Career and College Promise. So this is the number of students that are taking college classes at Brunswick Community College and earning credit. So in 2020-21, we had 350 students in Brunswick County that earned college credit at the community college. Last year, we had 579. So that continues to grow. It's improved every year. We're very proud of that. But specifically tonight is about the bond. It's about seats. The argument for this school bond referendum is very simple. I tell people all the time, this is not a complicated thing. We're running out of seats. As a public school district, We do not have the option of telling people that they can't come to our schools. We're not like a private school or a charter school. When someone shows up with their child at our front door with proof of residence in our attendance area, we have to provide them with a seat. And Brunswick County Schools has been growing over the last 10 years on average 3 to 4% a year. For us, that's 300 to 350 students per year. So over time, we're losing seats. And so at some point you have to have more seats. This bond is $349,600,000. Over 95% of it is two schools, an elementary school and a high school. A big part of how we've been seating kids over since the last bond referendum in 2016 is by purchasing modular classrooms, so trailers that we install at our schools. A lot of this has been in the North region. That's where most of the growth has been. However, just in the last year, that has started to change. Last year, for the first time, the two schools that were most over their projections in enrollment over the summer were in the central part of the county, Cedar Grove Middle School and Supply Elementary. For the first time, they led the county in the number of enrollments that went beyond the projection. And if you've ridden around in the central part of the county, there's a lot of development going on in that area as well. So that growth in students and families is also coming to the Southport area, and especially along 211 and BSL. And we've got to get ahead of it, because even if we own the land and have it ready to go, it still takes us a couple of years to build a school and get it going. So we can't wait. We have to get ahead of it. I also want to remind everyone that in North Carolina, it's state law that bond referendums can only be on the ballot in even years. So if this bond referendum doesn't pass this year, we can't put it on the ballot again for 2 more years. That is going to put us in a very, very bad spot. Trailers right now, for example, at Belleville Elementary School has 9 trailers. We're adding 2 more next year and 2 more the year after that. At that point, we're going to be out of land, permeable surface land on that campus to be able to add trailers. We're going to be doing the same thing at Lincoln Elementary School. And Town Creek, we just opened an additional 16 classrooms at Town Creek Elementary. So we're going to be good for a little while there, but Winnebago is growing. So I just want to remind everyone that you can add seat space by adding trailers, but that doesn't make the lunchroom bigger. Okay, so like we're having lunch now. First lunch starts at 10:30, and last lunch ends at about 1:30. And so it is by fire code, we can't make the lunchroom bigger. Also, our parking lots, our queuing lanes, I think the town of Southport knows very well what can happen when traffic gets backed up at the queuing lane at the school. It gets backed up on the main highway, and then it becomes dangerous and it becomes a mess. We were able to add a 3rd lane of traffic at Southport Elementary School last year that has really helped tremendously, but we had the space to do that on that campus. And Southport Elementary has actually lost students over the last few years. That has not been the case in the northern part of the county. So that's the reason why traffic is such a mess, not only there, but at Town Creek. At this point, because there's one way in and one way out of Town Creek, traffic gets backed up out onto 17, which is very dangerous. And so I just want to say, and classrooms now, modular classrooms, by the time you permit it, handicap access it, hook up the electrical and the water, is $250,000 a piece. And in 10 years, they're in a shambles and you have to completely rebuild them. I mean, they're a terrible investment. They're a temporary solution to a problem, not a permanent solution. I want to show you these charts. I'm going to explain the first one because they're all set up the same way. So the y-axis is the number of students going up to 1,200. The x-axis at the bottom is the decade, the next 10 years. The red dotted line, x-axis, is the current capacity at Belleville Elementary School. So you see the title at the top, Belleville Building Capacity Projection. This is with the modulars that we have, how many seats we have available. The x-axis below that is 100% capacity, not counting trailers. And the gold line is 90% capacity, with not counting trailers. We get concerned when schools get at 90% capacity because schools can grow by 10% of total population in one summer. It happened at Cedar Grove Middle this past summer. They had 67 new students show up for enrollment, which is over 10% of their total enrollment. And again, we have to have a seat for them. And permitting takes a little longer these days than it did in the past. We can't just roll a trailer up there and, I mean, it takes 3 or 4 months now to get a permit. So we get very concerned when a school is at 90% capacity. As far as the dotted lines, the red is without adding a new elementary school. And the greenish blue is if we build a new elementary school, meaning we pass the bond referendum. So you can see the projection at Belleville Elementary School over the next 10 years. This is Lincoln. I don't know if any of you have driven in the northwest part of the county lately. There are a lot of houses going up out there. This is Town Creek, projection over the next 10 years. This is the North region as a whole, all elementary schools without a new elementary school. And this is with a new elementary school. So we project if we can pass this bond, we're going to have to use the trailers again, but we do think we'll be able to make it for 10 years with this bond if it passes and we build a new elementary school. Now, specific to the high school, that's our next biggest problem, particularly North Brunswick High School. So this is North Brunswick High School, same chart, without a new high school and with a new high school. The kids that go to this new high school will come from north and south. This is South Brunswick High School projections, red line without a new high school, blue line with a new high school over the next 10 years. And this is West Brunswick. And there's some development happening down there as well, but it's going to be later in the decade before that starts impacting us. And that's just high school as a whole across the county capacity and with a new high school. These are elementary attendance zones across the county, and then on the right in just the north region. We have been pursuing several pieces of property. On the right, this shows the existing sites of Lincoln, Belleville, and Town Creek. In between Belleville and Town Creek, you'll see a site called Jackie's Creek. We're in the process of closing on that property, and we project that that's where our new elementary school will go. West of 17 at the top is a property off of Mako Road that actually both of those properties are part of the same development. One's in the north area and one is down at Winnebago. And we project that that northern property will be where the new high school will go. There are other things that we are doing. Basically replacing all of our bleachers in our oldest schools, the high schools and middle schools. They're in pretty bad shape. They're not handicap. They don't meet current code for handicap access. And especially in the middle schools, most of the spectators are grandparents, and it worries me to death every time I see them walking up those wooden bleachers and they're moving all around everywhere. So we're looking to get some new bleachers there. We want to add a second entrance at Town Creek so that we don't have traffic backing up out onto 17. We can divide the traffic from Town Creek Middle and from Town Creek Elementary. Town Creek Middle traffic will go out to Governor's Road and then access 17 from there. Shallotte Middle is, we have included astroturfing that field like our high schools. Our other middle schools have multiple fields that they can use. When we adopted lacrosse as a sport, lacrosse is rough on fields. And we had a very difficult time keeping grass on our fields. We had to split up our sports in order to give the grass a chance to come back. Shallotte Middle is different. They don't have a second field to use. So everything happens on that field, and it just gets beat up early on, and it looks like a tractor pull by October. So we would really like to astroturf that field. Our numbers show that that would be the best use of our funds. The South Brunswick softball field house is nowhere near what North and West have. It's no one's fault, but and it really wasn't a problem until the South Brunswick softball team started going to the state championship, and then like 300 people started showing up to games. There's one toilet in that concession stand, and so as a result, we had to pull up a nice modular bathroom on wheels. But that thing was costing us $18,000 a year. So that really wasn't a sustainable thing. We want to use bond funds to build a softball press box, locker room, and concession stand that is on the level that North and West have at South. So there are some other things. We need to replace our intercom systems. We have a hodgepodge of intercom systems in our schools that are obsolete. When things break, we have to get custom parts made now. It's extremely expensive. So we want to go to a different cloud-based system that'll be a lot cheaper and efficient. But all in all, you can see that the vast majority of the cost comes from building the 2 schools. If approved, the bond would be dispersed in 3 disbursements over 6 years. So the full cost of the bond wouldn't hit the taxpayers until 2031. And that is by design to limit the impact as much as possible. So as you can see, the total result of impact on taxpayers would be, and we just updated these because the county got new numbers. So it would be 5.47 pennies per $100 valuation on the property tax in 2031 if the bond is passed. So for an example, at the bottom, the monthly sort of maximum impact, again, North Carolina law requires us to advertise a bond cost at the maximum that it can be. So this is how much it would cost if people stopped moving to Brunswick County the day after the election, which is not going to happen. We just adjusted these numbers down from what they were 2 weeks ago once we got the new information from the county. As people continue to move to Brunswick County, the impact will lessen. For example, 2016, Brunswick County passed a school bond referendum of $152 million. No one's taxes ever went up. So that was a result of growth in the county. It was also a result of some decisions by the county commissioners. And I'll let folks see the reference documents at the website for the rest. On that website, there's an email address that goes directly to a bond email address. If you have questions, please send an email through that bond email address. I set aside 30 minutes every morning. My first 30 minutes in the office, I answer bond questions. And I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm happy to come back before this council if you need me to answer questions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like that everyone in here certainly supports our school system, and we're particularly proud of Southport Elementary. And I believe this board would certainly make a motion at some point whenever they feel up to
Can
it
we ask
about sending a
questions?
letter.
I noticed lots of schools with lines. I didn't see Southport Elementary. Did I miss it?
Say that again.
I missed Southport Elementary in the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about Southport Elementary? Because that's the school in my town.
Well, so is South Brunswick High School.
It's not,
But-
South Brunswick is where the students go, but it's
Right.
not in my city limits. Southport Elementary is.
Yeah, in this bond referendum, there's not anything specifically for Southport Elementary except replacing the intercom system
Okay.
because it needs to be replaced.
And I have children that attended Southport Elementary, and I currently have a child at South Brunswick Middle School. So this is not coming from anything ill toward, other than the fact that I am supposed to be representative of Southport. The students that go to our before and after school program that have been displaced, I understand that there are roughly 5 that go to South Brunswick Middle School. I don't know, I don't have the full numbers of that. So I do know that in addition to my own children, we have lots of children that attend South Brunswick Middle and High School as well. But I did want to make sure that everyone noticed that Southport Elementary was missing from that.
Well, I guess for clarity's sake, what I would say is that all of Brunswick County students are our students, no matter where we live. And it's not just the north region of the county that is growing, but right now that's where the need is the most. I was not given clearance to put together a $1 billion bond. So I had to put together a bond that I felt confident would get us through the next 10 years, adding as few trailers as possible. And it just so happens that right now Southport Elementary School has the most space because this is really about seats. That's what I said at the beginning of the presentation.
My French class was in Madam Billman's trailer at Southport Elementary.
I don't doubt it. I had classes in trailers too. But I guess to the point that I think you're making, that time will come. There will be bonds in the future. I answered this same question from people down in the western region of the county because they're not, getting as much in this bond as well. But their time is coming. The next bond is going to have to address the Southport area as well as the western region a lot more than the north region. And so what I would hope is that everyone would look at this as we have to do this incrementally. Because the tax impact that it would take to solve all the problems for the next 20 years all at one time would be substantial. So we want to try to spread this out. So my answer would be Southport's time is coming. It just doesn't happen to be in this bond.
Well, I happen to know that already. I did want to get it on record. I saw the presentation with the county commissioners when you did that a couple months ago.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Thank you. And then the intercom system at Southport Elementary will be well used, and we appreciate that. And then at South Brunswick
High school.
Well, at South Brunswick Middle School, are you going to address the bleachers?
Yes.
There? Okay, thank you.
And then the softball concession stand.
So I understand that,
locker
but
room,
I
all of that
sit
at
on
high
those bleachers, so and I think I sat on those bleachers when I went to South Brunswick Middle School as well.
Yeah. And you don't realize how important an intercom system is in a school until it breaks. Then you realize how important it is.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the public hearing concerning the vape and tobacco shop. This is a text amendment to the UDO. And with this, it requires two things, a public hearing to be held prior to the Board of Aldermen deciding on the proposed amendment, and also a statement of consistency must be adopted at that time. This vape and tobacco shops, this is something that the city's had to deal with. This is a public health issue as well as an aesthetic issue. Where they are located, we want to make sure they're away from schools and not in downtown. So I'll call on our planning director, Maureen Meehan.
Thank you, Mayor.
And one last thing, I declare the public hearing open.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the board. This evening's first public hearing is for the introduction of a new land use in the Highway Commercial Zoning District. This is the vape or tobacco shop amendment. Okay. So this is, like I said, addition to a land use to table 3.1, table of uses in the UDO. This will proposal adds vape and tobacco shops as a land use in the Highway Commercial Zoning District. And the land use will be specified as a special use with standards. So this means to establish a new shop, the owner must have property that is within the Highway Commercial Zoning District and then receive a special use permit from the Board of Adjustments and also meet the standards outlined in the UDO that we're proposing. So we are proposing that the definition would be that an establishment dedicated to the retail sale of tobacco or marijuana products, including CBD and kratom, or tobacco or marijuana paraphernalia. A vape or tobacco shop does not include bars, nightclubs, or other establishments allowing on-site consumption of tobacco or grocery stores, convenience stores, or other similar retail uses that sell tobacco products or tobacco paraphernalia as an ancillary sale. Phew, that's a lot. So that is our definition. So we wanted to make sure that this was really specifically going to those retail spaces that are specifically selling the tobacco or CBD products. The standards that would have to be met, where they would be permitted in the highway commercial, the location shall not be less than 500 feet from a school, daycare, youth facility, community center, city park, hospital, or places of worship. Should not be within 500 feet of any residentially zoned property, and it should not be within 1,000 feet of another established vape or tobacco shop. This provision also does not apply to any land uses that are lawfully existing prior to the effective time of this text. I did want to mention that I spoke with City Attorney Herman, and we've talked about the downzoning considerations. And since we are not reducing or taking away any zoning from other districts, but we are creating a new use that is not previously defined. So that covers us there. There have also been some questions about where we got our 500,000 foot measurements, distances. I want to make sure that since they are only allowed in the highway commercial, I wanted to give you a map of where these are. Excuse me, thank you, next slide. So if you will, on this map, you will see the bright red properties on this map are the only ones that are zoned highway commercial. The purple properties are planned unit developments or PUDs, so those are your subdivisions. So you'll see that there are a lot of these highway commercial properties that are adjacent to residential properties. And by law, we cannot zone out or arbitrarily exclude uses through zoning like this. So we had to make sure that there were areas that these would be able to be established with this standard that we are providing. The planning board reviewed these standards on more than one occasion, and at their January 15th meeting, they found that the amendments were consistent with the 2050 comp plan and recommend approval of this text amendment. I apologize. Thank you. So that is my presentation, and we can open it up for public hearing.
Any public comment? Anyone from the public that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Betsy Vetter. I live at 6094 Turtlewood Drive here in Southport, and I will be very brief with my comments. A lot of times people come to complain. I come to applaud. I think this is a good move for Southport. Tobacco use remains the leading preventable risk factor for chronic disease, and tobacco and nicotine products are both, whether it's traditional or vape, are addictive and deadly. And I think as a community, we can be leaders in fostering a healthy community and be the role models for our children of the behaviors we would like them to adopt. And so one of the best ways and easiest ways for us to do that is with strong tobacco control measures. It is far too easy for children to access these products. They are tobacco companies market to them. If you've seen new age tobacco products and nicotine products, they are designed for our children. They look like school supplies. So as a parent, it becomes harder for you to know what they are. They use, they're candy-like. They look like cartoon characters. And so keeping these businesses away from the places coming up to schools, their churches where kids frequent every day, just takes that out of sight for them. It also helps people that are trying to quit. So in summary, I would just say this is a right step for our community. This is us leading the way, and I thank you, and I thank Ariane for doing this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak? Yes, sir, Superintendent.
I would like to say ditto. Great job. Anything we can do to keep kids away from vapes and tobacco, we should be doing everywhere. And not only that, I could probably save us $50,000 a year from clogged toilets with vapes if we could do away with them because, of course, like it's always happened, they vape in the bathroom and when somebody walks in, they throw it in the toilet. Only now it clogs it up and then we have to pay a plumber to clean it. So it's not just about just the health of the kids. It's also just the maintenance of the buildings as well. Anything we can do to limit it would be great. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak on this, in this public hearing concerning the vape shop? Okay, great. All right, board, do you have a discussion, any motion that you'd like to make on this?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been 47 years since I worked in law enforcement. I know I don't look that old. But it used to be a law against possession of drug paraphernalia. Chief, has that changed? So we still have a law, and I just read in our text amendment, we're authorizing a shop to come into our city and sell drug paraphernalia. So I need that explained to me before I can vote. And maybe there's been some changes. Like I said, it's been 47 years since I've been in law enforcement, but I'll go by what Chief says. If there's law on the books that says it's illegal to possess drug paraphernalia, why are we authorizing it to be sold in Southport?
What I can offer for this is that it's being advertised as tobacco paraphernalia. So it's for smoking of tobacco is how they are advertising these types of paraphernalia.
Could we remove the language from our text amendment, drug paraphernalia? Because it sounds like to me we're supporting something that's illegal, that's criminal.
If that's the wish of the board, I don't see why there would be an issue with that if we keep the paraphernalia of tobacco paraphernalia in.
Yeah, just take the word drug out of there. And I could probably live with it if the chief can live with it.
And I understand what you're saying, Alderman Gross. It's the paraphernalia, how it's tied to whatever the situation is at the time. As she said, there is tobacco products that use some of the similar apparatus, if you will. So I think I understand what you're saying as well, though. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we're not voting on this tonight, right? This is just the public hearing and then we get to think about what we've heard and then vote next week. Next month. Typically, that's what we do.
What I would ask is, because it's my understanding, and this might be a Mo question or a Brady question, because we currently don't have it defined in our UDO, that's how we had one before in the center of town. So I would caution us to wait. I believe we as a board asked the planning board to bring this to us. So I can't imagine that we couldn't go ahead and do it tonight.
I was emphatic about bringing this, so I really appreciate the planning board and the planning department getting this together. I had the benefit of my own business being next to the shop that was in Southport and is no longer in Southport, unrelated to this. I need to be very clear about that as well. So I just think that there was an opportunity for us to help shape what Southport continues to look like. And I think that there is a place, and business is business. And I think that with Alderman Gross's amendment to that, I think that this is something that if we're all in agreement, we can move forward with this evening.
Yeah, I'm fine with it if we can take the word drug out and replace it with smoking or something other than drugs.
To Alderman Davis's point, I don't know if we need to agree as a board, but at some point, this board has agreed that we would not vote on public hearings the night of the public hearing.
Correct. We would give ourselves time to think about what the public had said.
It's not, can you show us the policy? Can you read it to us?
Did we ever, I don't know if we ever put it in writing, but this was we discussed it and we followed this policy for at least 2 years.
I think that our only two public comments were in favor of this as well.
This isn't a big controversial issue. It's not a large issue that is not easily comprehended. We want to protect the public health. Students, we don't want these shops next to someone's business and our business or near a certain school or any school or churches and that type thing. And so we really should go ahead and make the motion and pass it because it's time sensitive. We want someone to come in tomorrow and build one and get the permit and they say, well, it's not on the books yet. We can do that tonight. And I think that's what we should do. We all can comprehend what we're asking for. We do not want these vape shops in certain areas. Highway
Well, I
commercial.
understand that, but before we, I mean, are we going into discussion now? If we are, we should have a motion on the table.
I move.
Yes, I've been waiting for a motion.
Just for the record, I'm not opposed to this. I just, know where we were and to Alderman Davis's point that had been, but I'm good to vote on it.
Will somebody make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Oh,
I would
well, we can't do it within the public hearing. We have to close it. Okay. And then go back into it. Okay. So a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay. Motion by Alderman Mosteller. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Kelly. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the public hearing is closed and now I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to add a new land use vape and tobacco shop with standards to the table 3.1, section 3.8 and article 8 of the Unified Development Ordinance and adopt the attached consistency statement with the amendment offered to the text by Alderman Gross.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Okay, I'm opposed to this. And here's why. We're kidding ourselves if we think that these distances are going to keep kids away. I mean, this will just be another place that they can get to buy these products. And these products are dangerous, they're addictive, they're bad for kids, they're bad for adults. And, we are not required to allow them. So why are we allowing them? Why would we support something that's bad for the community?
I think we have to, I think we are required to offer zone. Yes, we are.
Didn't you?
If we don't have a place in the planning and zoning where something like this could be, then they can go anywhere they want with a Board of Adjustment hearing, correct?
It doesn't even need a Board of Adjustment hearing. Right now, it's just considered general retail. So when anyone comes in with this type of establishment, they can go even in the central business district, but any of the business districts, zoning districts, or highway commercial. So this would then.
We're not required by state law to allow this use under special use or anything. We don't have to make a place for this. Like so many other uses, this is not one that we have to.
It's not specifically spelled out in the state statutes that we have to have provisions for it, no. But it would be hard to say that it's not a retail space or retail use that would be allowed regardless with our current zoning.
Y'all, this is just bad for people.
Well, and I agree.
I don't think we can.
No.
No, we can't say no. What Maureen's saying is if we don't have a place for it to go, it can go anywhere. And we have to allow it to go anywhere.
Yeah, if a use is not defined, Mo has to go and make the determination on where it's going to go. And usually it's something that's like substantially similar. There's language like that. So there's new uses that come up all the time that municipalities can't go and forecast unless it becomes very common. So I think that's sort of, again, hence why we're doing this whole text amendment to begin with.
So to keep a vape shop out of downtown, like we had for a while, we would need to pass this so that we moved it out to highway commercial.
That's correct. This is a
I
location
get it,
issue.
but I still think it's just a choice that we have to make.
I don't disagree, but that is the choice. Of course, we're not going to support children having access to things like that. But this is the only way from a zoning standpoint that we can mitigate it as much as possible and still be compliant with state statute.
Okay, all right, we had a motion and a second and a good discussion. It's not like we're promoting this type of activity. It's just that we at least we can put it in places that are not as accessible. So it's in highway commercial, and it's not going to be in our central business district or next to a school or next to a church. Okay, sure.
That's what Charleston did.
Yeah. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 3, I declare this public hearing open, and this is updates per changes to the General Statute 160-D, the Unified Development Ordinance Text Amendment, and this is something that was done by our General Assembly. So I'll call on again our Planning Director, Maureen Meehan.
Thank you again, sir. Yes, as mentioned, this is an amendment to multiple sections of the Unified Development Ordinance to comply with changes to 160D that were enacted by Session Law 2025-94, the Regulatory Reform Act of 2025. There were 7 amendments that needed to be made, or 7 topics that needed to be made throughout the UDO. I will briefly go through those. For in the event of a potential parcel of land with split jurisdictions, no formal agreement between the local governments assigning the planning or development jurisdiction, then there needs to be a formal resolution by the separate jurisdiction. So in our case, it would be Brunswick County with the city of Southport. If that is not in place, then the property owner has the ability to choose the jurisdiction that they choose. So that we made that change. In section 1.4, jurisdiction and zoning map, we added a section C there in the UDO. The next topic was updating the limits of downzoning to match 160D 601. Now, yes, this was enacted last year, but everyone was hoping there would be some changes or amendments or would be removed from the statutes, but it was not. So now we do need to make sure we make the amendments to our local ordinances. So that's going to be in section 210 to text and map amendments. The next one is reiterate at the time of expiration of a special use permit that is not vested, the current zoning applies, and that is going to be section 2.12, vested rights. We also needed to remove all waiting periods for the refiling of a zoning map or text amendment or a development application or request for development approval. So that's going to be both in 210 and 2.6 of the UDO. That's going to be changed for that. We need to clarify that a new permit for a property does not extinguish any other development rights on the property. So that's going to be in 2.12. And remove any requirements for the fire access roads that are not in compliance with the existing North Carolina residential codes. We made updates to that in section 4.8, streets and roadway networks. So we had it at 45, I believe. It was very low. 30, so it's needed to be changed to 100. So if there's 100 units, you have to have a second access or approval by the fire marshal. And then the remove any requirements for street construction standards that are more stringent than those adopted by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And we did have some standards that were higher than that, so we had to remove those from, again, section 4.8, streets and roadway networks. The planning board reviewed these amendments in February at their February 19th meeting, and they find that they are consistent with the comprehensive plan, and they recommend approval of the proposed amendments.
We don't really have a choice, do we?
Correct. These are changes to the statute.
So how rude. Oh, Lord. Sure you have a choice. Not really. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this? Anyone? I would think we'd have at least 3 or 4. Thank you. And it is, and you may have mentioned it, but I really looked at it's called an act to provide further regulatory relief to the citizens of North Carolina. And basically what it does is it takes away more power from the municipalities to help determine, how you do things. And so, anyway, if there's no comment, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Alderman Mosteller, is there a second? Second by Alderman Kelly. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed, and I will entertain a motion.
Well, I have, well, you want a motion and then I have a few questions. Okay, well, okay. A motion, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the proposed text amendments to incorporate changes to NCGS 160D in the UDO and adopt the attached consistency statement.
Second.
Yeah, I got some,
Yeah.
I just want some clarification on a couple things. This might be Brady, I don't know, or you, Mo, I don't know. The way that 210 I3, however you say that, it appears that, so the downzone is only applies to commercial properties, the way that reads?
That's correct. That's how the statute is written.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. And then, can you tell me in the vested right conversation, how long does permit choice last? Like when a project gets permit choice, but doesn't, how long does it have an expiration that if they don't utilize it?
There's a lot of different answers to that question.
Okay.
So it really goes back to how the project was approved. Was it a conditional zoning? Was it a PUD? Those types of permit choice are going to be much longer than, say, someone who applies for a project that's a development approval. That's just like a major site plan, let's say, for example. If the UDO is changed or any other ordinances are changed in the process of after that application has been submitted, then that's when the permit choice takes place. So I know it's not a real clear answer, but that's kind of how it works. It's really kind of case by case. Brady, if you want to help
Yeah,
me
the
here.
the true permit choice statute, even though permit choice and vested rights kind of are used interchangeably. So if you go in and submit a permit application to Mo and you all change the ordinance, then if the permit application is placed on hold at the request of the applicant for 6 consecutive months, or the applicant fails to respond to comments or provide additional information for a period of 6 months, then it reverts back and they'd have to go to the new standards of the UDO.
And special use permits, if the Board of Adjustment gives you a special use permit, you get 6 months and then you lose it, 180 days.
It depends, that they can put conditions that it could be longer than that. And I want to say, I want to look it up because I want to believe that it's more than 6 months on
I think
some
it's
of them.
2 years. But I can
Yes.
look it up.
Okay, any further questions, board, or discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is item 4 is the final plat for Jonas Creek Phase 3. I don't know if you've driven back through there, but it's a beautiful site, and I will call on Planning Services Director Maureen Meehan.
So in accordance with the UDO standards in our major subdivision process, the developers of Jonas Creek Phase 3 are requesting approval of their final plat for lots 24 through 57 of the subdivision. A final plat is an administrative approval. and a review. So if all standards are met, then the final plat should be approved. The subdivision is a planned unit development, so it's got a PUD zoning, and it has an entrance from West Street and also connectivity to West Owen Street through Quartermaster Drive and Arabella Lane. The applicant has installed all of the required infrastructure, and since the packet was due, the street signs have been installed and been inspected by Public Works. So that is taken care of, and that was one of the conditions we had spelled out previously. So therefore, staff requests that the approval of the final plat is approved with the condition that the applicant will request the acceptance of the infrastructure, the roads and stormwater, and dedicate those to the public because they are public right-of-ways at the time of 80% of build out, or if the lots have been conveyed to individual ownership. So that'd be 27 of those lots. And the infrastructure is complete and repairs have been made and inspected by the Public Works and City Engineer.
Any questions? Okay. Anyone like to make a motion?
Paul, you moved. It doesn't matter. A motion to approve the final plat of Jonas Creek Phase 3 subdivision based on conformance with the previously approved preliminary plat and with the available applicable standards of the City of Southport's Unified Development Ordinance with the following condition. The applicant will request acceptance and the city will accept the required infrastructure to be dedicated to the public at the time 80% or 27 of the lots have been conveyed to individual ownership and the infrastructure is inspected and approved by Public Works.
Our second.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Mosteller and a second by Alderman Gross. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item is item 5, and this is the Southeastern North Carolina Regional Hazard Mitigation Program. And this is where state and federal laws require that local governments have a mitigation plan approved to receive disaster-related assistance. So I'll call on, once again, Director Maureen Meehan.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Again, thank you. In the 2026 Southeastern Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan is complete and ready for local adoption. As the mayor mentioned, this is a requirement from state and federal sides that the counties in the state all have and the local municipalities adopt a hazard mitigation plan. So every 5 years, the North Carolina Emergency Management coordinates the planning efforts. And the purposes of these plans are to update the plans on a 5-year cycle and demonstrate the progress and current trends that are happening on sites. They're always changing risks. So we want to make sure that that's there. We want to increase public awareness and education of these hazards and how we can prevent them and mitigate them. We want to maintain grant eligibility for the jurisdiction itself. Without having this locally adopted, then we won't be eligible for grant funding at the state or federal level. We need to update the plan for our community rating systems with the NFIP so that we can meet those requirements for our community rating system. And then we want to maintain compliance again with the state and federal legislation. So the funding for these updates are taken care of by state and federal agencies, North Carolina Emergency Management and FEMA. Staff have been working with the consultants and Brunswick County since May of 2025 to update this plan and gather input. And we completed the capacity assessment and mitigation action plan. The action plan was reviewed and incorporated into the plan and has been reviewed by the North Carolina Emergency Management and is being forwarded to FEMA once we have all of our local adoptions. The plan expires on April 16th, so we're trying to get all of our local adoptions taken care of prior to that so we can get it submitted to FEMA and still remain eligible for our funding opportunities. And again, I had mentioned that we need to have this to meet our requirements for our CRS program. So staff are requesting adoption of this plan this evening by resolution.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Meehan? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead.
I make a motion that the board adopt the Southport Mitigation Action Plan and Resolution for that we adopt the Southeastern North Carolina Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Alderman Mosteller and a second by Alderman Davis. And the resolution for those at home and those who want to read the packet is on page on 141 in the agenda packet. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. And now we'll be ready. Hopefully we won't need it. Item 6, consideration of revisions to the noise ordinance. This was on the agenda last month. So I'm going to call on our planning services director just to briefly let us know where we are on this ordinance. And then I will call on Alderman Mosteller to continue the discussion for clarification in terms of the use of heavy equipment.
Yes, thank you very much. This was requested to come back for further discussion, so I just wanted to give an overview of what was the motion and what was adopted at the February 12th meeting. The proposal is to provide a provision that heavy equipment operation be only allowed on certain times and days if you are abutting a residentially zoned property. We also added a definition for heavy equipment. So that means that it's an earth-moving construction or industrial equipment weighing more than 6,000 pounds, and it is self-propelled vehicle that is not to be designed to be driven on the highway. So the original language that was proposed said that the operation of the heavy equipment would only be permitted between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. So it would only be allowed during the weekdays. And then on Saturday and Sunday, you would still be able to do a property owner would still be able to use regular tools that they have, if they, even some medium-sized equipment if necessary, if they were doing some projects around their house. But this was going to be really for those large, heavy excavators, dump trucks, those types of vehicles, so that for the welfare of the neighborhood. So it was requested that this be brought back for a full discussion with the board, all present in person. So if there's any questions for me, otherwise I will just leave it to the board for discussion.
Thank you. Any questions?
I'll talk first, and because
yes, Alderman Mosteller.
Thank you. I asked the city manager to put this on tonight's agenda because I would like the board to reconsider this amendment as originally presented. I realized that after watching the meeting last month, I was unable to hear the discussion completely, and I asked for the indulgence of the board to revisit this ordinance amendment. Unless there's an emergency situation, I think it's important and fair that residents have an expectation that heavy equipment and the noise and vibration associated with the operation of this type of equipment is limited to Monday through Friday within 500 feet of their homes. It doesn't limit it outside of that 500-foot radius. It limits it only within that 500-foot radius. So truthfully, I would like to make a motion to amend the ordinance to read Monday through Friday.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Mosteller, and we have a tie with Alderman Carroll and Alderman Davis as a second. Very, very good discussion on this because it's heavy equipment that we're talking about, which makes quite a good bit of noise. So limiting it to Monday through Friday is a good idea. Any further discussion on this?
Yes, I brought up Saturdays in large part because there are situations where we are able to get permits from the city, and you call the clearing company and they can do it this Saturday, or they can do it 3 months from now. So I think we're possibly putting a burden on people who are trying to build their homes when we say that they can't do Saturday. I just want to bring that to everyone's attention, because I think that there are opportunities for moving things forward in the city without restricting a Saturday also. So restrict it the same way that we restrict Monday through Friday, but allowing for a homeowner or a property owner to be able to have progress made on their property. Otherwise, they might have to push that back even further. Just
It's a choice somewhat between assisting, as you said, but also taking care of those who are here, who live here, and who I don't think should be inflicted on a Saturday as well as a Sunday, or as well as the rest of the week. You know, peace and quiet and enjoyment of your home. Peace, what is the law on that? Quiet enjoyment of your home and property. Bad enough during the week to have to listen to all of it, but at least Saturday and Sunday, a relief. We're talking about the kind of equipment that shakes the ground and grinds away. So understanding that this is limiting in some cases to desired construction, I still think that our obligation is to the residents of the community right now.
And the other point I'll bring up is that not everyone's weekend is Saturday and Sunday. Some people work alternate hours. Some people work overnight, and they are dealing with things during the day anyway. So we are not a bank hour community.
I'm glad that the 500 feet is in there. I think that's good. That's reasonable. I voted on this last month. I'm concerned about depriving individuals of making a living on Saturday now. Given the 500 feet limit, I'm kind of with Rebecca on this one, keeping it Monday through Saturday as we voted last month.
For me, I feel like this is an opportunity for us to be proactive instead of reactive. And so we know we've got large, just as an example, there's a large construction project on the corner of Nash and Howe that is under construction that's backs right up to a residential house. I think it's very fair to say in these situations that Monday through Friday you can have all that heavy noise and that, but for the weekend, and then we've got waterway going to back up to Kate's Cove. I think it's reasonable that those are more normal business hours. Normal construction activity is allowed already Monday through Saturday, so I don't see that as a conflict with that.
As far as limiting someone's ability to make money, if we're gonna limit it one day, that's limitation. So we either don't limit it at all, or we try to be as reasonable about it as possible. I understand the argument, and I like that the 500 feet is in there because it gives us that. It gives us space, but this is going to become a big deal, I think, as waterway continues to develop. I think that we're going to hear from more and more people throughout the communities that abut waterway, and so I just think we need to keep that in mind.
I mean, devil's advocate here, if the argument about limiting people's opportunity to make money or move quicker on their construction, that argument would hold to not limiting anything on Sundays either. I can't believe I just said that. There's a time, remember, when blue laws were very, very strict in North Carolina. And do I need to remind everybody about a certain University of North Carolina basketball coach who was willing to forfeit a Final Four game because it was scheduled on a Sunday? Blank stares for real?
What year was that?
I think 1892.
Thank you.
Um,
No.
So I think we're kind of getting off the subject here. I think what she's trying to say, she wants to open up a vape shop on Sunday. So she doesn't want to be limited to the amount of money she can make. So anyway, I think this is good. You can do the banging Monday through Friday, but Saturday and Sunday. This is heavy equipment. It's going to shake your house, shake the windows, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
Well, then would you consider for individual property owners for a single lot rather than a multi-lot clearing? Is that something we're allowed to do, Brady?
I mean, you guys can go and do what you want. I mean, I think at this stage, it's been presented twice. If you're going to add something that's, relatively consistent with the language that's already been, noticed in the agenda, but that's at the pleasure of this board, obviously. And there's a motion and a second already, so.
So, yeah, we have a motion and a second.
I just like to share that I appreciate this discussion and I try to be reasonable and my mind can be changed. And I know how I voted last month and I'm willing, in consideration of my friends in Indigo and Cades Cove, to go along with the motion this month.
Yeah.
And Indigo proper, we didn't even talk about the anticipated construction in Indigo proper.
This will be really nice for the people in the ETJ, what used to be.
All right. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. So one against and the rest are for. So thank you. Thank you. All right. Next up, item 7 is the Board of Aldermen ethics policy. And I just want to introduce this briefly. Ethics is the moral principles, rules, and standards with respect to the behavior of individuals, groups, or professions, distinguishing between right and wrong behavior. So what we learned about right and wrong, we learned it from our parents. We learned it from our coaches, our teachers, our scoutmaster, our pastors. It's right, how we act, how we conduct ourselves with regard to moral code and values. So at the mayor's meeting, I asked them about how they handled their code of ethics, and they said that they had their city attorney review the policy once a year, and if there needs to be a change, then they bring it to their board. The current policy was adopted in 2010, and I know you've read it. I read it, and it was very good. And there was a new proposal in there that includes civility in this policy as well. So I'm going to call on our city manager first, Noah Saldo, and then we'll call on the city attorney, Mr. Herman, and then we'll start the discussion with Alderman Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you pointed out, Alderman Gross asked me to look at our ethics policy that was last adopted in total in 2010. So looking at other municipalities and the county, Brunswick County really has a strong ethics policy as well. So taken from the county's ethics policy that expands on what we had adopted since 2010, and then also including some civility language that comes from the League of Municipalities, civic initiative and civility initiative that they have to strengthen the code of conduct and code of ethics that the board had adopted in 2010. So the overall sentiment is similar to the 2010 policy. It just kind of expands that policy and really works to bring it full circle and updating since 2010. So I think it's a pretty good, strong policy update since then, and should work well for the board going forward.
Yeah, and
Attorney.
I reviewed the policy as well. It's, pretty consistent with what we already had that was adopted in 2010, especially with the sort of the procedural aspect, if there's anything beyond or what this board would feel like is a violation of this policy, and all that's set for. So it's good on my end.
Any further discussion? Anyone? Mr. Gross.
Thank you, and thank you for those comments, Noah. Yeah, this is one of the things I was really excited about being appointed to this board was, we got kicked off with language like, we're going to run things civilly, and we're going to get along. And we may not always agree on policy, but we're going to get along. And I just felt like we needed to take a look at this policy. It had been updated since 2010, and I certainly support it. I'd like to see it adopted tonight. And per Mr. Alt's comments earlier today, I'd like to see sometime in the near future that we expand on this policy, or maybe it's another section we need to look at, and also address a similar policy for our staff and our appointed committees and board members. And I think this will go a long way to Southport holding on to that award as the friendliest seaside community in America that we got back in, was it 2015, 2018? Anyway, I certainly support this policy, and thank you, Noah, for doing some modifications and for bringing that forward for me.
Anyone else? Alderman Mostel.
Yeah, by and large, this is exactly what was in the 2010 ethics. With what I observed, my three observations were with the addition of First Amendment framing about robust debate, which we're protected by the Constitution, and commitment to a civility pledge. And the third thing that is different from 2010 for me was lower threshold for censure. And I would not be in favor of lowering that to a simple majority. I would prefer to keep it at 2/3 majority. So absent that change, if we could make that modification, then it really is the same values that we've already been operating under. For me, the main one, or except at some point I'd like to add social media conversation to it. But the main one for me is living as if they are on duty as elected officials, regardless of where they are and what they are doing. That's always been one of my favorites out of the 2010, and it's in this one. So
I would think that it might be a good idea to go ahead and pass this if we're in favor of it, and then bring on and add on other things.
Yeah, we're not going to add on.
I've also just
this.
very quickly whispered with the city attorney about what we can require in this vein from our city staff. I mean, do we have the power to require this?
My answer to that, since you asked me before, was, I mean, a lot of this would be addressed in the personnel policy.
Yeah.
I mean, just to the core of it, what you should and should not go and do. I mean, the civility part of it might not be verbatim, but that's where that would be addressed. If the city manager, since he's the CEO, has any thoughts?
No, that's correct. And I'm working on updating our personnel policy as we speak. So I'll look at that specifically as we go forward.
If we're in agreement, I would make a motion to adopt this policy with the amendment to the censure majority being 2/3.
Have a motion by Alderman Marsteller and a second by Alderman Carroll. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah, this is basically the same as 2010, the same values as Alderman Marsteller said, and adding civility, which is good, and keeping it the 2/3 for the censor. And anyway, so all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Item 8, Planning Board appointment. Interviews have been done, and I will call on Alderman Marsteller to give us the results.
So I'm gonna
Oh,
step
Kelly.
in, that's fine.
Alderman Kelly, thank you.
We could have gone either way. So we have one full term seat that was vacated 5 months ago. We've now gone through 2 rounds of interview process, and the board unanimously recommended that Ed Eckert, who has been in the alternate position, move into the full position that's available for the remaining 3 months or so on the term. That was a motion.
Motion by the liaisons, Alderman Kelly, and then second by Alderman Marsteller. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Thank you.
Mayor, I have just a follow-up request
Yes.
that I'd like to ask staff to notice the vacancy for the alternate seat. And if the 3 candidates want to be considered for the alternate seat that we have just interviewed this week, then I think it's fair that we don't ask them to re-interview. I think one of the candidates has already interviewed twice. So anyway, that's what I would ask, that we go ahead and do that so we can get that done.
Basically, we're keeping those 3 applications alive.
Well,
If they
we got to
desire.
contact them to make sure that they want the alternate seat, because that's not what it was before.
I think we're in danger, I'm not going to oppose this, but I think we're in danger of greatly confusing the public, because, we just did this, now we're going to do it again, and then in 2 more weeks, we're going to be advertising for 2 open seats and an alternate seat.
There will only be 1 open seat. There won't be, the alternate seat is till 2027. And so when we appoint that person, that one is to 2027. And there was confusion about 1 member, but that member actually isn't up until 27. So there's only going to be revisiting this 1 seat that we just appointed.
I would just suggest that we try to figure out the process. There's a lot of stuff happening at the table that we should have had a little more defined. So if the city manager could just find a way that we don't have to keep having these conversations at the table, that would be great.
The ordinance is clear, but it actually does not address the problem of if, for example, an existing member is going to ask for a different seat, then that's left. And then what do you do if there's a short period of time left? So that's not addressed, and perhaps staff can suggest this. Staff came up with the existing ordinance, which really is a masterpiece of clarity, I think, and it replaced a helter-skelter way of doing this in the past. So rather than an ad hoc committee, which I first requested, I think maybe we could pitch this to staff. Mr. City Manager, thank you. maybe consider whether 2 weeks is enough time for people to get applications in. I don't think it is.
Okay, good additional
Correct.
discussion.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll have two, let's see, come July 1, we'll have 2 3-year terms available. Is that correct? One, okay. One. And is that? Yeah,
The alternate doesn't expire till 27.
right.
And then the term we just appointed Mr. Eckert to, it expires in June.
In June, and there's
So-
one other one that.
No, it does not. I know, but that's an error on the website. We
Okay,
looked
so-
back.
Uh,
Who was the other one?
Fred Pitts.
No,
He filled a position.
that was an error on the website.
That was expiring this year.
According to the minutes, he was appointed to a 3-year term. Correct?
Fred's
I
is
got the
right.
documentation.
Fred's is right. Fred's should be up in 2027.
Okay, well, I stand corrected. Just, yeah, I was going by what was on the website.
I don't remember this much confusion before this very clear new ordinance, but,
And it was 5 months.
so
We've
just,
been through a lot of rosters and
I know, and I'm sorry, and it all happens at the same time every year now. So just to clarify, we have one vacancy coming up.
One.
yes, I don't have my notes with me today, but I think there is one vacancy open for. Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes, the alternate was moved up, so we're good, and the chairman is here, and he will look out for his committee, I'm sure. Yes. Yeah. Oh, let's let the chairman of the planning board look out for his planning board, and he will access us when we need through staff. I think that would be best, but thank you for getting this at least clarified, but thank you. Item J, committee reports. Alderman Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The ABC board met on March the 3rd. One of the changes that I recommended is that their monthly financial report not be a month snapshot comparing February of 25 to February of 26. And we're going to new financial reports that reflect year-to-date sales. So provides much more data, much more valuable for both the ABC board and for me to share with Noah and our finance team. The year-to-date for 2025, which would have been July till February, sales were $4,026,675. That's a lot of spirits, folks. That's a lot of spirits. 2026 fiscal year to date over the same period, which is basically 8 months, right, was $4,194,650, an increase of $167,974 or 4.17%. So sales are looking good. And that's my report on the ABC board.
Thank you. Alderman Kelly.
The 4th of July festival is still preparing for our big 250. We have the Shrimperoo that is going to be on April the 12th at American Fish. The tickets are available for purchase now, so you can go ahead and buy those. And it's always a really fun afternoon out on the water at American Fish. And it includes some door prizes. There's a 50-50 raffle and food there as well. So get your tickets early for that. And they do go up at the door, I believe, once we get there. Don't quote me on that. I might decide that they need to go up at the door.
All right, thank you. Alderman Davis.
The Historic Preservation Commission did not meet this month, in part because we had a conflicting meeting, and we, meaning the alderman, did. And but they are working on further refining the design standards, looking more deeply into things that can be eliminated, that would be redundant, that are already dealt with in the UDO and in the right-of-way ordinance.
Alderman Carroll.
Forestry has scheduled the 2026 Arbor Day celebration for April 25th, and that will be hosted at Franklin Square Park. They were finalizing the agenda for that day, and I'm pretty excited about it. So if you can make it out to Franklin Square Park on April 25th to celebrate Arbor Day, that would be great.
Excellent, thank you. Alderman Mosteller.
Thank you so much, Mayor. With regard to the Beautification Committee, I'm happy to report that our monthly beautification cleanup on March 7th had 26 volunteers participate in the workday. In addition to late winter cleanup and pruning at the JC building, Northwood Cemetery entrance, and the firehouse planter boxes on Howe, volunteers worked at the Circular Garden on Nash Street, the roundabout on Moore Street, Taylor Field, and the corner garden at Waterfront Park. Also, in cooperation with the Southport Historical Society, beautification volunteers placed 90 commemorative bricks in the walkway in front of Fort Johnston. So be sure to mark your calendars for Thursday, May 28th at 5:30, and plan to join the Historical Society at the Garrison Lawn to celebrate the commemorative brick program. The next volunteer beautification workday will be Saturday, April 4th at 9 a.m. We will meet at the jail annex at the corner of Rhett and Nash Streets across from the old Smithfield Burying Ground. And the next beautification board meeting is on this coming Monday, March 16th at 5 o'clock. The committee will meet at City Hall upstairs in the conference room located at 1029 North Howe Street, in like I said, in City Hall. And of course, the public is always welcomed. And I want to thank the opportunity to also talk about the planning board. The planning board has continued working on a dashboard report to provide greater information to the Board of Aldermen and the public on development projects. They have also continued looking at pairing up with Brunswick County to digitally collect development information, further adding to its transparency. And they are looking to improve the way and the amount of information that is provided with UDO text amendments to add clarity and different levels of information to enhance the transparency of any UDO modifications that may be considered by the board. Also, the planning board is looking forward to the upcoming UDO work as a result of the certification of our comprehensive plan. And lastly, at the planning board, the next planning board, they will be voting on the planning board rules of procedure, which will then be sent to the alderman. The planning board meeting is the third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. here in the community building, and the public is always welcome.
It is, it can be viewed It's recorded. So you can sit at home and watch it anytime you want.
Trying to decrease their attendance? My goodness. All right, managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As some of you probably have saw as we enter this budget season, I have launched a city manager budget and services survey. So that can be found on the city website or our Facebook page. So just a good way for a larger swath of the population of the city to give us their ideas as we move forward through this upcoming budget process. So I encourage everybody to take that when they have an opportunity over the next few weeks. Indian Trail Meeting Hall is complete and open and ready to go, ahead of budget and ahead of schedule. So that is open for anybody to use as we go forward. Also on our long-awaited weather tower project, yesterday, the survey of the layout was completed on the Garrison lawn. They are planning to dig and pour the concrete footers either next week or the following week, depending on the weather. The tower installation will be 2 weeks after the footings are poured and set. The tower will come in 2 sections and will be fitted together on site. So hopefully by the 1st of April, we will have the weather tower complete and up and on the Garrison lawn. Congratulations to Chief Coring on being accepted into the FBI's National Command Course upcoming at FBI headquarters. Only one chief per state is selected for that program each year, so he beat out other chiefs for that program. Everything will be scholarshiped and paid by the FBI for his travel and training to that. Congratulations to the fire department. As you all saw, the ISO rating down to 2. And you can learn about that and much more at the upcoming session of the Citizens Academy, which starts on Thursday, April the 2nd. That runs for 5 weeks on Thursday. So as a prior graduate myself, I encourage you to sign up for the Fire Academy today. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor's comments. Again, Women's History Month. We celebrate Southport women. The banners are on House Street, so make sure you see them, including the First Lady's grandmother, Josephine Hickman. So our thanks to the Southport Historical Society and Mary Ellen Poole, who's president, and this is the 50th anniversary. And we thank them for this tribute to Southport women. Also, very importantly, is the ACC tournament. So I'm going to be very brief. There's a game tonight, and then the NCAA tournament, and March Madness is coming up for basketball fans. I attended the Town and State League of Municipalities meeting and the annual Cape Fear Council of Governments meeting. The city was represented by the city manager and also Alderman Mosteller, Spencer, Kelly, and Gross. And this was an excellent time to meet other elected officials and mingle with our state officials as well. Attended the mayor's meeting this past month with our local mayors, and it's always very informative and a good exchange of ideas. And I want to wish you all a very happy St. Patrick's Day. May the blessings of St. Patrick be with you and with Southport. Staff reports, they're in your packet. Item N, board comments. Alderman Gross.
Just briefly, I want to thank my fellow members of the Board of Aldermen. About 3 months ago, we were presented with the opportunity to accept $10,000 from the More Charitable Foundation in Orton Plantation. We had a rather robust conversation about those funds, about the language in the grant, and about how they'd be spent. And through as cooler heads and civility rose to the top, I think we've reached a compromise, and it's unanimous. And Noah's going to sign acceptance of that grant, and hopefully we're going to spend that $10,000 on soil nourishment and buying plants, hopefully. So thank you to the board for working through that little hiccup, and it's nice that we could find a way to accept free money.
Thank you. Alderman Kelly.
I would like to say happy birthday to my daughter. She turned 13 this month, so I have a teenager. She may or may not actually see this, and if she does, she's going to be mortified that I said anything. But it was fun to have a lot of her friends over and to celebrate her for a little bit. And my kids get to pick a Southport restaurant to go to for dinner when it's their birthday. And we had a lovely evening at Moore Street Oyster Bar that night. So that was fun.
Congratulations. That's wonderful. Okay, Alderman Davis.
I'd like to address the issue that was mentioned in public comment and just say that I support the city manager in his decision and what he is doing regarding the situation and investigation underway for the Parks and Recreation Department. It is an extremely unfortunate set of circumstances, and yet his hands were pretty much tied. There were no other ways to deal with this. And as unpopular as it is, and as much of a hardship as it placed on parents who lost the before and after school program for their children, there are many other things that were affected as well. This is not a situation that the city manager created. This is a situation in which he had to respond appropriately, considering the parameters of a criminal investigation. And so I'm on record as supporting him in what he has done.
Alderman Carroll.
Thank you, Lo, for addressing the elephant. So while we've been sitting here, I actually got a text from someone that the Charlotte Observer picked up this news. And so I think that the press release that went out misled in many ways. And I shouldn't say that because it didn't provide enough information. And so a lot of people are calling and they're making assumptions that we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. And Mr. Manager, would you mind just clarifying to the extent that we're talking, not that any impropriety.
I can't speak to any further than that. It's already been released. It's an ongoing investigation, so I can't speak to the extent of what that investigation may or may not be at this time.
So if we know, can we speak to that?
Robert, I just advised right now that we probably shouldn't elaborate further, but there can be more discussions with you all at the appropriate time to speak with you guys about what you're talking about.
Alderman Mosteller.
The only thing I would say is that I want staff to know that we care about them, all staff.
That's very good. And we do have a closed session on this, and pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A36, we go into closed session pursuant to a personnel matter. So I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Carroll and a second by Alderman Kelly. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. We'll go into closed session. I'll entertain a motion to go back into open session.
So move. Second.
Alderman Kelly and the second by Alderman Carroll. Any further discussion? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.